Well, I am here in Minnesota with two of my extended family members here, James and Angie. And you guys might not know this, but this is actually our fourth attempt at recording this podcast episode. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we have some really amazing things to share with you right now. And one of the best stories I think I have of my entire life, a road trip across country that didn't go as well as we thought it would. Plenty of hiccups. And we learned to never speed in Iowa.
Yes.
It could have gone really bad. So, James and Angie, say hello.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Well, I think the biggest thing is the big news that we need to update, because we're about a year from when we made our road trip and came to this very house. And that was the first time you and I had both been in this home. We were both fish out of water. And now it is your home.
A year and 3 weeks later.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool how the timing all worked out.
We got married.
That's what I was.
October 14th.
Yeah,
we tied the knot.
That's pretty amazing. I mean, you're okay with them? I mean, yeah,
just a little. Yeah.
I think maybe to touch on something real quick, because that one time I did post a video and it was just my story, just updating when we got here, and people didn't have the best response, and they were like, "Is she gonna be okay?" They're like, "She doesn't look too happy." We were all beat. We were toast. That was like, dude. I mean, you were right there on the phone for every minute of our journey, and hanging on by a thread, and we were as well.
And it was, 4 a.m. when you got here? I was up as long as I could be, past watching the live video.
Yeah, we did a lot of live feeds, and I couldn't do a lot of those this time because the service was just junk on the route we took. But that was really fun. That was cool doing all those live feeds and having the first time I ever got 100,000 likes. People from Australia and all over the country, New Zealand. Philippines, UK, Australia. It was so fun. So we're going to get into the whole story and the details. But when I met you, you were living in your car at Rock Park. How long had you been living in your car?
Honestly, a little over a year.
A little over a year.
Yeah, I actually came down from Oregon, where I was taking care of my elderly dad after my mom had passed. And things weren't really working out. I came down to Reno to work for a couple of weeks. While I was gone, my dad sold the house, decided that he was going to go off with some family members and move to Montana. So I got a phone call 2 weeks down in Reno that this is a closing date on the house. You need to come up and get your stuff out. So I'd gone back up to Oregon and spent some time up there working. And I actually had a friend of mine that had passed, and I was trying to make my way back down to Reno to his funeral. I caught COVID. I broke down the side of the road. It was March in Oregon. The nearest auto parts store, of course, didn't have the part I needed. They were a week away, and I ended up patching it together, made my way down to Reno, and during that summer, I started working for myself. I was working out on a big horse ranch out in Washoe Valley, and I had other clients. And in the meanwhile, that spring, Angie got in touch with me, and we dated back in 1985. High school, yeah, the 80s. Yeah, the first concert we went to was Bryan Adams, and I'll just say the 80s happened. We broke up, and she, over the years, had tried to get a hold of me. And periodically, my mom, as I'd be leaving her house, would run me down in the driveway. "Oh, this girl called for you." "Well, how long ago, Mom?" "I don't know, 6, 9 months ago, maybe a year." And it was Angie trying to get in touch with me. And one night I was clearing out a bunch of old email, and I ran across LinkedIn where she tried to get a hold of me and was asking for information, email address, phone number, anything to get in touch with me. And it was 3 years old. And so I responded, and we started talking. And that summer she flew to Reno for a week. We spent a week together and fell madly in love, and decided I was going to move to Minnesota to be with her. The only problem being, it was about 2 weeks prior to that all my work for one reason or another dried up. And so, fishing off of Craigslist, trying to find work for a day and everything. The seasons were getting ready to change. It was late September, and everything was starting to change. The weather was changing, and work was drying up, and so we were trying to figure out, how I was going to get there, you know. And I just kept telling her, I don't know, we'll figure it out, and as long as I get here, I can start the life I've always wanted. And then that's when you and I met.
And you guys had both had marriages, kids, and everything from the 80s until this reconnection.
We both just got out of 9-year relationships. Believe it or not, we're both single. I had 3 daughters. She had a son and a daughter. And we just both had to be single when she came to Reno and connected, and that was it.
And Angie, I got to ask, because I know this dude pretty well now. What made you reach out to him?
It's that young, innocent love. I mean, we were together when I was 15. So that was pretty special to me. And
Well, and to see what you guys have now, it's just as special as I imagine it would be back then. It's really beautiful. It really is. And he's not the same with you as he would be with me on the drive here. So I'm sure, I could tell there's a difference.
Probably a good
You
thing.
bring out the soft side in this guy, for sure. For sure. But so you're stuck in your car and, you'd been probably bouncing around park to park wherever you could. And had you ever been homeless or lived in a situation like that before this?
I had. I was homeless without a car. There was a point in time when a couple of years prior, my car was actually broke down, and I ended up in December sleeping under a tarp in a ditch in Reno with the snow and everything. And I'd filed for unemployment and I was entitled to, but at that point, because of COVID and everything else, the unemployment system in Reno was backed up so bad. So what I did, I didn't have a cell phone, I didn't have a watch, and I'd wake up and I would walk from where the old DMV was in the Galletti area to the only branch that was open, their lobby was open, or Bank of America, which was on Plum. And I'd walked in there, and the first day I walked in there, I was there 10 minutes before they closed. And the bank manager told me it's too late to call back east to unlock your debit card. So you have to come back tomorrow. So I had to walk all the way back. Next day I get there, I'm 15 minutes before they close because I still don't have a watch. I have no idea what time it is or anything. And he told me, you're too late. You got to come back one more day. And I went back one more day. And he said, it's 15 minutes before they close. I think you're too late. And I started to kind of lose it a little bit because that's not a short walk in the dead of winter. And I explained my situation to him. And he's like, look, if you can get him on the phone back east, I will do whatever you need me to do. But you have to get him on the phone. And I got him on the phone. And I couldn't find a bank manager. I went to the tellers who were all trying to count their tail out. And I'm like, where's your manager? Because these people aren't going to stay on the phone forever. Yeah. And I'm panicking. I'm freaking out. The guards all over me. Going, you got to calm down a little bit. You're going to go outside. And I finally found a bank manager. He gets on the phone, asks him 2 questions, and we get disconnected.
Oh, man.
And he's like, let me try something. And he calls him back and gets a hold of somebody just as we're on our way out the door and says, I have an emergency. So he's able to unlock my debit card. And so I left there after 3 trips on foot, finally satisfied.
So at that point, did you have enough money to where you could get back kind of on your feet or whatever?
I could fix my car, put the fuel pump in it. And
so how long was that period of time where you're under the tarp and everything?
3 weeks.
3 weeks.
3 weeks. 3 weeks, yeah.
Okay. So, I think it's good for everybody else out there to know, because right now, looking at you in this situation, in this life that you have, you would never know that you have been through what you have. And that could be the same scenario and story for so many people. And it could be upcoming for a lot more. It doesn't take much to have everything hit the fan. and be under a tarp or living in your car, right?
It takes a couple of maybe poor decisions and some bad luck.
Yeah.
And there you are.
Yeah. And I think it's important people realize that.
I always tell myself we're 3 steps away.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you might be a couple more than that now.
Yeah.
I do. But that's what I say to everybody is it's a domino effect, and everybody's amount of dominoes is different than one another, and it could happen to anybody. So it's crazy because now you're sitting here married in your home with your wife. You have your great job.
I have a great job.
You're a Class A driver, and I mean, it's just amazing. But I want to roll back a little bit,
Okay.
and I'm curious, what was maybe the worst thing you saw when you were living outside or in your car?
Honestly, I saw somebody get stabbed, and it wasn't for much. But when you don't have anything, everything is everything, and desperation brings on hard results, living wise. I saw I saw a lot of sides of humanity that I don't embrace, but you have to recognize it because I believe that if you put anybody in any situation, that there's no telling how they'll react because that's human nature.
Yeah.
And we all have kind of a will to survive, and it's how you do it. Is I think what makes the difference, separates us from the animals.
What is the worst thing that happened to you personally when you were living outside?
I I did a pretty good job of protecting myself, keeping my defenses up, and as you know, hiding stuff in my car.
Mm-hmm. We'll get to that.
No, I'm sure. um, I think it's the betrayal. I think it's the instant betrayal
From friends and family?
from just friends are a fiend with an R, and it's a whole different mentality when you're out there. All the things that we take for granted, the electricity, the plumbing. When you first worry or get up in the mornings, you have to go find drinking water for you and your dog to get through the day because without water we die.
How did you do that?
I found places where I was, able to access clean drinking water. And
Was being by the river helpful?
no,
You didn't touch
no,
that water for nothing.
no. I mean, out of a city spigot where it's treated.
Yeah. What about food?
Um, I had I don't know if I'd call myself innovative, but there was like a pizza wing place that I went to. And after I'd worked a day job, I went and I greased this night manager and I said, look, I know you throw away the orders that don't get picked up. If I bring you like $40 a week cash, will you just save them? And, I'll come and knock on the back door and that way I could, feed the people in my circle. And it was working for a while, and then it didn't work. And I mean, I've had to go in and retrieve the pizzas out of a dumpster in the middle of the night and take bolt cutters and cut the lock off because they want to lock their stuff up. And I distributed, I don't know, 80, 100 pounds of donuts. I don't know how many times from a local donut shop that I made arrangements with that, if you're going to throw all these out, can you put me in clean garbage bags with no trash? Because other people, you're helping people.
Yeah.
Whether you know it or not. And in turn, you don't have a bunch of people in your dumpster creating a mess or a scene or this or that, and I'll handle it. And, you help me, I help you. And they're very cooperative.
That's really cool. You mentioned something about warming up food on your car manifold.
Exhaust manifold, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they take a piece of baling wire and put a couple holes in a can of raviolis and strap it to the exhaust manifold. And
Did it ever taste smoky?
no.
Good.
No, you wait till you see the tomato sauce bubbling up through the holes you put in the top of the can.
And then you're good to go.
She's done. But,
yeah. Because, I mean, I think a lot of people eat that kind of stuff cold. But, I mean, if you find a way to warm it up, why not? You know, like my dad's guys always did stuff like that to warm up their lunch when I grew up on the job sites and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, put their burritos on the top of the engine block after they park. So, yeah, that's normal.
There's a lot of nights you don't eat.
Yeah.
It is so hit and miss. You know, one night you got 10 pizzas in your car, and the next night, or 2 nights, 3 nights later.
What's the longest amount of time you went without eating?
I'd say at least 3 days.
3 days.
Yeah.
And did you at least have like some drinks or water or snacks, or were you totally nothing?
No, I always make sure I had water because water is a source of life.
Yeah.
Without water, we will die. And Spaz needed water. And
so when you didn't eat for 3 days, neither did Spaz?
That was her choice because she's always had the option of her dry food because I always made sure I had dry dog food. But she's a little picky.
Now, my dog won't eat until he sees me eat.
Yeah.
So that's kind of that's what they do.
It's just like I could tell when it got really cold because she'd come crawl in my sleeping bag with me and out of the 2 blankets that she slept under.
Yeah. Well, and I don't think I've ever asked before, but Angie, have you ever lived outside or had any close experiences or?
Fortunately, I haven't lived outside.
That's awesome. And you know what? I haven't either. I've just been close a couple of times. And if I didn't have friends or family or an ID or whatever, those couple dominoes, those like 2 or 3 more dominoes, I would have been there. And that's what really, inspired me to do what I do now. So it's fortunate for you. And it's amazing because, again, you would never know looking at you right now. And you guys are so happy together. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. So here we are when a guy with a camera on his chest walks up to you, living in your car, asks you, "Are you living in this thing?" What was going through your head?
You look like a cop, Nate. I'm not gonna lie. Body cam and all. I'm not a cop. I'm old school, Reno. I'm a little skeptical. I mean, what do you want? Why are you talking to me? I'm not having the best day. I just, wasn't able to drum up any work for the day. The seasons are changing. Time is ticking. She actually had baseball tickets to go see the Twins. Yeah. I think it was on the 26th of September. So that was my target date to get here.
I remember.
I love baseball. And I've been to a professional baseball game since I was 10 years old. So
I didn't know that part.
Yeah, I was dying.
But I remember you telling me that day when we first met that was your goal to get here by then.
Yeah.
And you needed tires on the car. You had 2 that were not in the best condition.
No, they were given to me.
They had tread, but
they were weather checked.
The guy at the tire shop told us they would literally explode.
Yeah.
So we went to the tire shop. Well, I thought, okay, I'm going to buy this guy 2 tires. He's going to have some tires he needs. I'm going to get him a full tank of gas. He'll be that much closer to getting there at this date that he needs to. And we did that, and then come to find out those tires weren't good enough. And so then we had to go look for all 4, and we had to go to a different tire shop because you have 15-inch rims, and it was really hard to find used tires for 15-inch rims because we were trying to save as much money as we could getting all 4 now to get used. We ended up finding some that
were
studded, and the guy was like, "Yeah, they got studs on them." And I'm like, "Actually, that sounds perfect for where you're going at this time of year."
Yeah.
And so we put all 4 on. I think it was just under $300. I think
like $240 or something.
Yeah. And got all 4 tires on and a full tank. And I actually knew somebody else that needed an alarm clock, and I told you I was going to go buy them an alarm clock because they needed to get up for work. You gave the one you had in your car. I remember that. He definitely had a nice hug there, and I remember. You said, "I need to introduce you to Angie because she's not going to believe what's going on right now." And you called Angie. And your exact words were, "Who are you and where did you come from?"
Exactly. Why are you helping him? I said, "Why did you pick him?"
Yeah. I don't really know why I picked him. I just something told me, "Hey, cruise into the park. It's a little rainy today. Let's see if anybody needs some help." And he happened to be the one that was, you know, getting out of his car or something that I saw, and I could kind of tell, but he had everything pretty well kept, not like there was stuff all over the place, so it wasn't obvious, and that's why I asked the first thing when I walked up, "Are you living in this thing?" And you were not happy about it, but you said you were. And I remember too, I was like, "So is there anything I could do to help you out?" And you're like, "Yeah, I need a little help."
Yeah, I was a little. I thought you were being an ass. To be honest with you, yeah, I thought you were just messing with me. You know, it's like, is there anything I can do? Because you don't get that in Reno.
Yeah.
Reno, I love Reno. Don't get me wrong. I've been there since 1978, and I love Reno. But Reno can be a cold place. And when somebody walks up in Reno and says, "Hey, what can I do for you today?" You're like, "Yeah, right." You know, but yeah, I told you, I laid it out for you. I'm like, I'm just gonna hit him with it and see what he does with it. And you did everything he said you do.
What was like it going through your head when we're driving together to go get gas and go get tires and
And
do
I
all
just,
those things?
I'm blown away. I'm like, here's another chance. Here's exactly the leg up that you need to keep going.
How long did it take for you to call her? Because you did call her before we got to the tire shop and you put her on speakerphone, right?
Yeah, I called her at the tire shop when we were waiting in line
Yeah.
because I wanted you to know that this was not a bunch of BS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at that moment, I knew too. I was like, he has this girl on the phone, which is the girl that he says is waiting for him, and she's talking to me. So this isn't a story. I could just see it in your eyes and in the way you were acting that you were, you were legit, and it was true.
Thank you.
And so I went on a little vacation, and then I'm thinking the whole time, I'm like, I hope this guy makes it. I hope he makes it. And we'd been kind of checking in with each
Yeah.
other. And no matter what you did, you couldn't scrape together enough to get
The
on the
work
road.
just wasn't coming together enough. I just, it's like you work, you earn enough to live another day,
Yeah.
but not 3 more days or 4 more days or to make it 2,000 miles.
Yeah. And I don't give out cash, so I had to get a little, tricky with this one and figure out something that could be, something we could do, something that was possible to help you get across country and travel 1,900 miles.
Yeah.
And one of my first ideas was by far one of the worst I've ever had.
Well, I thought it was odd after you wanted to load like 400 gallons of gasoline in containers in my car that you asked me if I'm a smoker afterwards, not before.
I thought, hey, if it was a truck or something, it wouldn't be as big a deal. But let's load this guy up with enough gas so he can get across country. He's got good tires, but it's an SUV, and he's going to be just stinking up like gas everywhere. He's got the dog in there, and I don't know what else to do. Maybe I could set up locations across countries, across the country with my followers, and they would be able to, be meeting points for you to get some fuel and whatever. But if one of them fell through, that would be the end.
I'd be stuck,
and I just couldn't figure out any other way but to hop in the car and go with you.
And when you came to me that day and you're like, I have a new plan, I'm like, oh God, here we go. Here you go. I'm going with you. And I'm like, what do you mean you're going with me? He goes, I'm going to ride with you. I'm going to fly back. I'm going to get you where you need to go. And that way I make sure you get to where you're going. And I was like, huh? I was blown away. So I ended up calling Angie and I'm like, check this out. And I told her, and she's like, you're kidding me. I said, no. And then it got postponed like another week. And that whole week we were like, oh my God, this is like the longest week of our life.
Yeah. It's like waiting for school to get out when it's like summer vacation and stuff. And we had gotten closer, and you helped me with some other people that were living in their RV, and we did a lot of work on their RV. Yeah. And I felt really bad because you were just covered in grease and everything, and I couldn't let you just go sleep in your car again. I got you a room, And, you know, we worked together on a lot of stuff. I was just the runner. You did most of the actual labor. It took like 2 to 3 days. It was the water pump from hell with 17 bolts going through it.
Hell, yeah.
Worst one I've ever seen in my
Laying
life.
on my stomach.
On top of an engine
yeah.
in an RV. That's not fun. Don't ever do it.
They had carbon monoxide poisoning in it. And
so
headaches.
I fixed that part.
Yeah, you did.
I did something.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The headaches went away.
I rerouted the exhaust of the generator myself, so I did what I could. But in that time, you know, it was it felt like forever. It
did.
Not so much for me, because I'm wrapping up everything I possibly can to make sure I can go on this trip, because I was still working.
Right.
I still had a job too.
Right.
So I had to redo my whole schedule to be able to plan the trip, also get a plane ticket at a decent price. And then we went and we hit the road.
We did.
And that was really an epic moment for me. I felt like a kid again going on a road trip, you know, and it's like, you know, when you're a kid, you have friends that you kind of know, but you don't know very well. And then you really get to know them really well on a road trip. I knew that was going to happen for us. And overall, it went well. I think, I mean, now I feel like I have another brother.
Oh, yeah.
But we definitely had some ups and downs on this trip.
Yeah, we were, 200 miles outside of Reno when the tire decided to disintegrate on the right front.
Mm-hmm. Where disintegrate. It was gone.
Yeah.
Nothing left.
Live.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm doing live feeds and updating all my followers the whole way. And they're chipping in to make this whole trip possible. Mm. I was only a few, like 3 or 4 months into this whole thing when we took this trip. So, I mean, I barely had enough money to make it all happen, and I just knew that people were going to make it work. And if I had to do something, I would do it. No matter what, I knew we would get there. You know, I had just enough to make that happen. And then people kept contributing and kept helping the entire way. And tire blows, and we put on the spare. The spare's as old as your car. It's 20-something years old or whatever.
It has about half the air in it.
Yeah, it had like 15 pounds of air. We had it on the front tire, or the front of a front-wheel drive car. So we could only go 40 miles an hour, and it was like another hour till we could get to the first gas station where maybe we'll get a tire. Maybe we'll find something. Anything.
It was a truck stop with no tires.
Yeah.
And it was like 10, 11 at night when it happens.
Yeah. And so we get to that truck stop, and they have no tires, nothing. And I came up with the bright idea of putting that tire on the rear so it's not a drive tire and it doesn't affect steering, and maybe put air in it, but they didn't have air. So that's a whole nother thing.
Oh, yeah.
But to get the tire on, we had to jack a whole side of the car up. We only had the jack that came with the car, so we had to get a little innovative. Yeah. And we took a sledgehammer. There's a sledgehammer, that metal wedge you had.
2 wedges.
A concrete block.
That we stole from the front door.
We didn't steal it. We asked. We asked very nicely. And he had to make sure he had a rock to replace it for us to be able to use it.
Yeah, because it's really important, that front door.
Very important to hold that front door open.
For all the people coming in.
At 10 o'clock at night in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
You know, he still gave it to us, and it made it happen. And then we couldn't get one of the lug nuts off because they over-tightened it putting the tires on.
Right.
And you went to go get a cheater bar. And the biggest reason I think we were afraid, too, is we only had one lug wrench, and the paint where the bend of the lug wrench was already cracking because it's twisting, because you're standing on it. And if we lose that, we're done.
Yeah.
We can't even change a tire. We get a new one. You know, what are we going to do? And you went to get a cheater bar, which was a fence post someone had ran over.
Right.
And I just decided I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to try. If this thing breaks, it breaks. I'm going for it because it's going to break with a cheater bar if it's going to break anyway. And I give it all I got. And I broke the stud.
Snapped it right off.
I snapped it right off.
I come back and you go, here's your lug nut.
Yeah. To get the tire off.
Yeah, thanks.
I still have it, by the way. I'll never get rid of that. No way.
You gonna make that in like a chain or
something? I want to put in some resin and do something cool with it. I think that would be awesome because it's really special to me. And I'm so angry I didn't film that entire thing because the imagery. I hope I'm describing it correctly because we have this concrete block that's about 4 inches. And then we have the two metal wedges that are about 1 inch.
Then the head of the hammer.
And then the hammer's standing up underneath the rear axle or the center where the rear differential would be, holding up the car.
To get it up high enough.
To get it up high enough, just high enough to get the tire off.
Yeah.
And then we go and while that's like that, we go and we jack up the front too. So this whole thing was as sketchy as you could ever imagine. I don't know if I've ever done anything sketchier when it comes to working on a car. But we made it work.
Yeah.
We made it work, and we've switched the tires out. One only had 4 lugs now, but luckily you have a 5-lug car.
By the way, it still only has 4 lugs.
And it's still going, and the car's still going. The car's still great. Yes. So we have we have 2 matching front tires.
Yes.
And we still didn't have more air in it, so we were still on the road at like 45, 50 miles an hour, pretty slow.
Yeah.
We get to that first gas station, and it said, what did it say? It said, we got to the compressor, and we're like, all right, we're going to be able to get some air. And it said, I'm broken. Yeah. We're on it.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait a minute. What? They literally had a sign on it that said, maybe not those exact same words, but very, very close to that. We go across the street, and okay, they got a compressor. And then I go inside. I get changed to put in the compressor, and it's all jammed up. And I can't get anything in it. And I asked the lady there, at this point it's 2 a.m, by the way, 2 a.m. And she says, I can't do anything about it. I smack the side of it and a bunch of change falls out. So at least we didn't lose any money. Right. We might have gained a couple quarters. Got back on the road. Finally, we find a gas station that's new and has a good compressor and everything. And we're live the entire time sharing this with my followers. And they are helping us the entire way, because as soon as I say, oh, we need a couple bucks for air, a couple bucks in Cash App, bam. We get to the new gas station. Somebody says, you should get some Fix-A-Flat. Yeah. And I'm live. I felt weird doing this. I don't know if I ever shared how weird I felt walking through a gas station in the middle of nowhere, like total influencer kind of guy, on the phone, talking to everybody live at 3 a.m, 2 a.m, and go back, grab Fix-A-Flat. Look, guys, I got Fix-A-Flat. And then, boom, $17 comes through, because it was $17 for Fix-A-Flat. So somebody made sure we had that.
Right.
And then they even sent us $50 for gas so we could get gas. Mm-hmm. So we have air in the spare. We have gas in the car. Now we're back up to speed. We're going the speed limit now. And we're making some ground. And we're doing pretty well. And then we get to Salt Lake City at about 6:30 in the morning.
Right.
We went to IHOP, kind of said, what are we going to do? Let's find a tire shop. I think we got to go to a little mom and pop place, because, we're trying to find a matching used tire here. They're going to tell us they can't get one. They don't want to put it, whatever. We're going to get a whole spiel. So we got to find a little mom and pop place. And I found a place. Nobody was open until I think 7:30.
Right.
And it was Salt Lake City, Mexico's tires or something like that.
Right. So you said, calm down.
Yeah.
Get some breakfast. We'll go deal with it here in an hour.
And then we went there, and this was a very unique experience. This was as meant to be as it could be.
Exactly.
And we pull in. We were the first car in there, and the guy, he just comes up right up to the car, jacks it up, takes off the spare, doesn't speak English, so we don't know what the heck's going on. And then he just rolls it off, asks you for the flat. You give him the flat, but he didn't ask, because, again, didn't speak English. He just kind of pointed. You kind of got the vibe. So you gave it to him.
Unburied the one we
Unburied it, because it was buried under everything. Yeah. Rolls it in back. We still have no idea what's going on. Like, is he getting another one? Does he have the tire? I don't know what the heck's going on right now. And then comes around the corner with pretty much the exact same tire that it took us forever to find here in Reno.
The only difference was it didn't have studs.
Otherwise, it was the same tire.
Yeah, the exact same tire. Same size, tread, everything.
Yeah.
Never said a word.
Is it still on the car now?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
No, after our trip to Reno, I put 4 new tires
Okay. On. All right. But then we're sitting there, and he starts putting it on, and we're blown away. We're like, we didn't even tell him yay, nay, nothing. And he already found a matching tire that we had so much trouble finding in Reno.
Uh-huh.
And then the manager comes out and says it's going to be $50. And at the time, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to maybe haggle a little bit. This sounds a little pricey for a used tire. And right before I could even get a word out, I look at my phone. Boom, $50.
It hits your phone.
Hits my phone.
I was standing right there and you showed it to me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah. It was unbelievable. So I just shut my mouth. I gave the guy the $50 and I gave him a little tip too. Because that was, I mean, that's the best service you could ever ask for.
And we were out there in like 15 minutes.
Yeah. We were in and out in like 15 minutes, back on the road.
Yeah.
Had to get you some sunglasses.
Yeah.
I remember we stopped at 7-Eleven to grab some sunglasses. And then we're back on the road. And it's smooth sailing. No problems whatsoever. Until
Dun, dun, dun.
until we get to Iowa. Oh man. And
you know, it's kind of your fault we got pulled over because if you didn't drive so slow.
I was trying to go about the speed limit, not too much faster.
5 miles under.
You were as anxious as could be.
Oh, I couldn't stand myself.
You know, and that's the thing is like we planned on taking turns driving. But this guy is so anxious, so excited, and also had so many monsters, Red Bulls, whatever you could find.
I can't sleep in a car.
He couldn't sleep. So every time I did take over driving, he would just be sitting there playing his slot machine game on his phone.
Yeah.
And at some point, I'm like, you know what? If you're not going to sleep, then you're going to drive. I'm going to sleep. I'm tired. So you take over, and you're probably going maybe just a little bit faster than you should.
Yeah, I was a little over the speed limit, but it's 2 a.m. in Iowa. There's nothing out. There's no lights. There's no nothing until we find the sheriff sitting in the middle of the meeting.
Yeah, and that turned out to be pretty interesting.
It really did.
So I'm going to explain it the best I can because I'm asleep. And I hear, oh shit. And I'm like, anybody who's been on a road trip when they're sleeping and they hear that, you know it's not good. And I look up, I see the lights, and they're like, we're getting pulled over. We're getting pulled over. I'm like, oh crap, here we go. Here we go. And he comes over, and then I knew, I did know that you didn't have registration, and I knew you didn't have insurance. I knew we were riding dirty.
Right.
I knew it. But I didn't know we were riding even dirtier than that. I didn't know that.
My license was suspended?
Yes.
Well, it's always the little things people don't tell you.
Yeah. So, and the best part was when the officer pulls up, he looks at you and he's like, sir, are you on narcotics? And you're like, absolutely not. And he's like, you look like you're on narcotics. He's got bloodshot eyes. He's been up for 20 hours plus. And again, 5+ Red Bulls, coffee drinks, everything you could imagine. Yeah. To be fair, he did. He did look like he.
Yeah, I looked a little warmed over.
A little bit. And I'm just waking up, so I don't know. I probably didn't look very good myself, but I am just waking up. So, I mean, whatever. And then you go to grab, he says, license, registration, all that. And you're like, I don't have a license. Or no, you said, I don't have registration, but I do have the title. It's signed. Can I grab it? And he says, yes. And he's like, okay, I'm grabbing the title. He rips open the center console where the shifter is, pulls it up from the floor. There's a Ziploc bag in there with a wadded up black wallet, and the bag's rolled up. So as soon as he picks up the bag, it unrolls. And I mean, I don't know about you, but to me, that did not look like a wallet. It looked exactly like what you would not want it to be. And the officer and I are both just, our jaws are dropped. We don't know what's going on here. Luckily, he didn't pull a gun on us.
Yeah.
And then...
And you're looking in the hole going, what else you got?
Yeah. Oh, no, it's over. We're going to have all our stuff on the side of the road right now. This is going to be bad news. But you had everything just like you said you did in a spare wallet hidden because he lived in his car in a safe place where no one could get to it.
Right.
And in a bag so it wouldn't get wet.
Right.
Totally makes sense to him if you live in a car. But to an officer or me, it didn't. And then he pulls you out of the car, takes you back. I'm sitting there quietly. Another officer walks up to talk to me while you're at the cop car, and what's going on?
He called for a canine and one more unit. So there are 3 units coming. So he puts me in the front seat of the canine unit, and they turn the camera they have inside on me to record me. And he keeps telling me, if you calm down, the dog behind you will calm down. And in the meanwhile, I have this German Shepherd who I'm getting his drool.
And you're in the passenger seat.
Yeah, through the holes in the cage, because this thing wants to tear my head off. Is lunging at the cage at the back of my head, and he's telling me to relax. If you relax, he will relax.
And all you were worried about was that.
Yeah, and I kept telling him, he's like, what am I going to find when I turn my dog loose in your car? Am I going to find large amounts of narcotics, money, all this stuff? And, how long you been on drugs? I'm like, I'm not on drugs. There's no narcotics in the car. There's no large sums of money. And he starts saying, he goes, well, who's the guy you're traveling with? And I go, his name's Nate. Well, what's Nate's last name? I go, I don't know. He goes, where'd you come from? I go, well, we started riding together in Reno. So what is Nate? Well, Nate's paying for the trip. Well, let me see if I got this straight. So you have a guy in your car whose last name you don't know, who you really don't know, paying for a trip to get you to Minnesota. Why would you do this? What am I going to find when I turn my dog loose in your car? I said, first thing is, my dog needs to come out of the car for her safety before you put your dog into my car. And you can put your dog into my car, but my dog needs to come out. And he's like, you just sit right here and relax. And the whole time I got this shepherd going, it's a grill right behind my head going, and I'm tired, I'm burnt. And it's the last thing we need. I'm sitting there, and while they're waiting for the 3rd unit to show up, they're standing in front of the car that I'm in, filming me, and they're both just standing there staring at me. And then the lady officer showed up, the one you spoke with.
And didn't you tell him to look me up on TikTok or something?
I'm like, he kept asking me, saying, well, who is this guy? And I'm like, just look him up on TikTok. It got to a point, I told him, I got nothing more to say to you. There's nothing more I can tell you that you can't find out yourself. I can't explain this.
Could you imagine? Look him up on TikTok. Yeah, that's going to solve everything.
Yeah, so the 2 officers are watching me through the windshield while they're recording me. This dog's trying to eat my head. And then the female officer
comes to talk to me.
Yeah.
And she just, hey, let's have a casual conversation. Just where you from? Can I see your ID? Blah, blah, blah. And no big deal. They're not pressing me very hard. And then I said, hey, can I show you something? And she says, yeah. And I pulled up my phone and I opened my TikTok. And I said, look, this is the original video when I found him. And these are the videos that I've been posting of updates. I've been live. And I've been helping him get from Reno to Minnesota to get with the love of his life. And this journey is something I've been funding to make sure he can get there. And I came with him. So no matter what happens, we're good. We got a flat tire already. And I told her the Salt Lake story and everything. And she's blown away. And she's just like, why do you do this? And I show her that I help lots of people. And she's like, oh, wow, this is a really cool thing you do. Hold on a second. She walks back and I hear her, hey, have you seen this guy's TikTok? And then I think now the officers are starting to go, okay, maybe there's something we got here. Yeah. So I'm waiting, and then you come back up to the front of the car.
They open up the door. Can I help you out, Mr. Seeley? Can I help you back to your car? And I'm like, what is going on? And then the only condition was that you had to drive.
Yeah, they said his license is suspended, which I did not know until he told me that, until the officer said that. Right. But I need to take over the wheel. And we need to get the heck out of there. Best experience I've ever had with the police in my life.
Amen, brother.
Yeah, shout out to the Iowa Police and
Sheriff's Department.
Yeah. Iowa Sheriff's Department, and also great word of advice: do not speed in Iowa.
Do not.
Don't do it.
They don't play.
They don't play because you're not always going to be able to pull up your TikTok. It's not going to happen. So then, from the rest of the way. This is the funny part. Like I mentioned, he couldn't sleep. He's so excited. Couldn't sleep for the life of him. But the moment we leave there and I took over, I hear him on his game, whatever, and I'm driving, and then I hear the phone hit the floorboard of the car, clunk. I look over and he's out. He's done. Finally, he's had enough. He's finally given up. He's done. And I just said, you know what? And I heard his phone kept going off and off. And I even had to kind of reach down without waking you up, pick up your phone and set it aside. And you just let you sleep. And we got like an hour away. And I stopped and I had my camera going. And I'm thinking he's going to be so excited. This is going to be so cool. And I'm like, hey, man, we're only an hour away. And you're like, okay.
Well, we only been 3.5 hours away for 2 days, so
Yeah.
okay.
So he goes in, uses the restroom, no excitement, nothing. He's just no. He's fed up. He's toast. He's done and tired as can be. We drive the rest of the way. We walk into this door here, and you left the door open, and it's 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And I've never been here before, and you had not either.
No.
So we're both walking into a home, hoping it's the right one. We knew, though. But I'm sitting here going, "Oh man, what if we walk in the wrong house?
Click.
What's gonna? Oh, this could go bad." And you were sleeping on the bed, and so we had to not only just walk in the door, but all the way through the house to the bedroom, and wake you up. And that was the most beautiful moment I've seen in a long time. Was you guys finally being reunited and together. It was amazing. And I can't, I just coming here, I got here at like 6 a.m. this morning. The sun wasn't out, and it was almost the exact same scenario for me by myself. Door was unlocked, come on in, not that it is all the time. It was unlocked just for me. Just a note.
Yes.
And I was right back a year ago in the same spot. It brought back all those memories. So cool.
Nice.
And now, here we are. You let me sleep in the bed. You had everything made. You were asleep on top of the comforter and everything. You wanted to make sure I had a nice bed. You guys wouldn't let me get a hotel. No way, not after everything you've done.
No.
We went out to lunch. I got on the plane and got the heck out of your guys' lives. And we chatted, we caught up, but you guys, started your lives together.
We did.
Shortly after, you got your Class A, you got a great job, and everything's been amazing since.
Everything's just been unimaginable.
It's just the best story I could ever. I couldn't make it up. It's amazing.
I don't think we could be happier than we are, honestly, because we both worked long and hard through our lives, and we're finally at that point to where we have some freedom. It's paying off.
Yeah.
And I owe everything to Angie because all she does is make me want to be a better man. She brings that out in me. She pushes me, she encourages me, she supports me no matter what.
Yeah.
And I hope we do that. I hope you feel the same way.
I get the same from you.
Because no matter what, we got this.
I'm curious, Angie, because I didn't get much out of you. We were so in our story here.
Sure.
Well, your side of the story when we're on the road, and when I'm hopping in the car with him and traveling, what was going through your head?
Well, I didn't know about the license either. I didn't know any of that.
Oh, yeah. This guy he thought he could just get here, no one would find out, and it would all work out.
But the tire, I was watching you guys live, and all of a sudden, we got to go. Bloop, and you were gone. I'm like, oh gosh, what's happening? Just, I guess I was so anxious and anticipating the arrival, just waiting for more updates.
To answer the question a lot of people had at that time, why couldn't you just, pay for everything and spend a ton of money to get him here in his car or whatever, send him the $1,000 it would take to get here in fuel and tires and all of that stuff. Why wasn't that an option?
For one, he never asked me.
He's a proud man.
Yeah. And for 2, I had my own things going on. I have a son that's in college. Um, single mom, taking care of him, um, everything else that's going on. And he never asked. If he would have asked, I would have tried to scrounge something up, but he never asked.
He told me he wouldn't, and he said he had to get it together on his own. There he was trying like hell to find work everywhere possible, and every time he got a couple $100, it ended up going right back into food, gas, fix the car, whatever it may be.
I couldn't start a relationship off on that foot.
Well, it sounds like it's a good thing you didn't, because whatever you did worked out great.
Mhm.
It was as good. I mean, whatever it took to get you right where you are now was exactly how it had to happen.
And you
And
were
I
hard.
guess I was part of
Yeah,
that.
you were a big part of it.
Yeah, and I'm very happy I could be. You're one of my favorite stories, if not the favorite story out of all the ones that I have and people I've helped. And we're fast forwarding a year now since then. So there's been hundreds since. But this is still one of my favorite. And at the same time, you guys are like family,
We
you
are
know?
family, Nate. We're not like we are.
Yeah, we are. We are. Oh man, I love it. The whole story, I love it so much. I can't help but to wonder, in that time, a lot of people, and I tend to get some negative comments and stuff here or there, and people that think what I do is wrong, or filming people in a situation like you were is wrong. And I do think that if you're doing it to exploit people for your personal gain and not put in the work and actually help follow through, it is wrong. Um, but do you guys think the way that I do it is the right way?
I think the way you do it is humane, respectful, with integrity, um, with class, and with morals and boundaries.
And everybody you come across is not gonna um,
I can't
be
please everybody.
exactly, and
Yeah.
they're not gonna be in a place where you can actually help them move to the next step. You might be able to help them for that night, that week, whatever the case may be, but not get to the next step because they might not be ready.
Yeah.
And that's the chance that you have to take because they still need help.
Well, and a guy like you and being that close is gonna be one in a million, maybe. I'm hoping 1 in 100, and I find another one.
I
But
hope you do too.
yeah, but you just never know, and you don't know until you do the homework and see things through and build a relationship before doing something like that, which we had done. We'd gone out to eat. We worked on cars together.
Yeah.
We talked a lot.
The
So
motorhome was really a great bonding experience for you and I.
it was. It was, and I think that's a good note for anybody to take the time to actually do something with somebody and get to know them before you're gonna jump in a car and drive across country.
Well, that I was, I told you if there was anything I can do to help you, and you called on me and you said,
Yeah,
"Look, I got a situation,"
I thought it was beautiful.
and
People helping people.
yeah, that's
You
what it
know.
should be.
Yeah. And you told me you had a dream of a nonprofit
I do.
to go around and fix people's vehicles.
Right.
And I actually just finished an interview with Doug and Melanie that live in their car still to this day. And they've said that the only thing you cannot get help with, no matter what, any type of assistance you get, you'll never get gas, you'll never get car parts, you'll never get help with your car,
Mhm.
fixing it, repairing it, anything. And
Yeah.
if you do live in your car, that's your home.
Right.
And it's the only thing that you cannot get any assistance with. So that actually is, I think, one of the coolest ideas. And I mean, I'm behind it 100% as much as I could be. But maybe down the road or something.
Yeah.
But at that point in time, we were living your dream and what you wanted to do and helping someone else that lived in their vehicle.
Right.
That was really, really cool.
It was very cool.
It was really cool. And they are still doing pretty well,
Good.
and Michael's had a stroke, a couple strokes, but I saw Michael just the other day, and you know, he's doing much better. You know, I wouldn't know he had a couple strokes
Good.
almost a year ago. So, and they do say hi, by the way.
Give my
They ask about you guys. Yeah. So it's just people helping people. We're making friends, and we're doing stuff together as a community. You know, like I always say, I'm just me, you're just you. Together, we're just us. We're a team, and we can really make a difference.
Right.
And I think that that's what it's all about. I do. Do you guys think there's anywhere that I could improve my approach or how I do things?
I don't think so.
No, you got to stay your goofy self.
Yeah.
That's perfect. That's easy for me to do.
It's your harmless, I'm not here to hurt you approach is what works.
Yeah.
Even with the body cam, you're still not, you don't strike bad connotation.
Do you think I should do it without a camera?
No. I think whatever you're doing, you should continue doing the way you're doing it, how you're doing it, when you're doing it.
I like that.
Because you're the one that has the feeling on who to go to, and you know, like you and I talked about on Trip Out, the gift.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sense. And you know.
Well, and I make mistakes. I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
I'm not everybody's gonna be a home run.
No.
You know, there's gonna be people who don't put in the work they need to do.
Right.
Even though me and all my followers, subscribers do. And that's okay, because we're gonna keep looking, and we're gonna find that next one that is only a couple steps away from being married and, you know, having a great income and a great home and a beautiful family. And
oh yeah,
you know, they're out there. They're out there, and we're gonna find them.
Yeah,
you know, so that's the job that I have to do. That's the task I have at hand.
You gotta keep swinging at the ball.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You're not gonna hit a home run every time.
No.
Those were your exact words to me when I was frustrated about a different scenario, and you reassured me that it's all right, and I can't. I've done so well up to that point that it's okay not to hit a home run every time.
All right.
Related to baseball, and by the way, you did make it to a.
I did make it to the Twins game.
Yeah. Eventually, you made it.
I did.
Yeah, and you've been to many concerts and events, and you guys have this wonderful life together, and you now have an extra room that I can come stay in whenever I want.
Your room will always be there.
That's awesome. It's so awesome. You know, is there anything you guys want to say to everybody out there? And, you know, the people that made this all possible? Because, I mean, I did the footwork, but I couldn't have done it without them.
I just want to say thank you for the encouragement, the courage, the support. Without you people, none of this would be possible. I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be living the life I always wanted to live with the woman I love more than anything in this world. So thank you. And to everybody else, don't ever give up. It's not over till it's over. Keep fighting.
Yeah. I would say too, especially, and I already said it once, but I'm going to reiterate the fact that we are all just human beings.
Mm-hmm.
We're all on the same earth together, and it could be anybody going through what you went through or what other people are going through. Things could change in a moment's notice. A couple bad decisions and a little bit of bad luck, and before you know it, you're under a tarp on the side of the road.
And a little kindness goes a long way.
Yeah.
That's right. So don't judge your fellow human. Offer help wherever you can.
Right.
And even, you know, I want to go back on something I forgot about.
Okay.
Because this is really important, and I think it's important for them to understand too. You know, a conversation can make all the difference. There was a day you called me, and you said you needed help. And I didn't know what I was going to get into. I didn't know what you needed. I'm thinking, man, I already gave this guy everything I can. I got him tires. I got him gas. He said he doesn't want food. I don't know what else I could do, you know? And he said, just meet me up here at the park at the Sparks Marina. And I met you there, and you just wanted to talk.
Yeah.
You just needed somebody to talk to. You just needed a friend.
Yeah.
Because you were struggling with waiting and the time and everything kind of falling through.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was before we came up with our big grand idea.
Right.
But I could tell you were a genuine dude, and you just needed a friend.
Yeah.
And so I think it's very important because I tell people all the time to just share a conversation. You don't need to go spend a bunch of money. And I think that day in itself was proof of that concept.
Yeah.
It's just talk to people.
That went a long way.
Yeah.
For
So,
sure.
with all that being said, I think it's time for us to go out to dinner. These two are taking me out to dinner.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't think I can put a stop to it.
No.
I don't think they'll let me.
No.
So it's time to say goodbye. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Yeah, thank you.
And I'll see you next time.